Flowers. Flowers are one of the most beautiful things that I think we can all agree that nature gives us. I think that's why you all are so relatable to each other, because you all have this passion for flowers. And unusually enough, gemstones are also a beautiful thing that nature gives us. And so today, we want to discuss the fact that the earth is showing its beauty with gemstones and flowers, and how over the course of time, our history books have written them together. And it's really kind of interesting how it all works. You have people, and people have the ability to perfect and enhance what nature has given us with all of our creativity and our artistry. And this is where everything sort of starts to come together as one unit. So as we add that human element, we see history and religion and folklore combined into the mix, adding meaning to what nature has provided. And we as humans, over the course of history, have associated meaning to objects, places, and things. We all have an urge that comes from the need to be fulfilled. And by creating all of these things together and adding meaning to, and creating history and creating symbology, it's given us a rich history of cultures and stories to draw from. This leads us to the reason why we're all here today, relating some of the history, philosophy, and folklore that's been written and passed down through the ages about botanicals and gemstones, and where they intersect in this maze of our global collective histories, because we're all from somewhere, or we have a relative that's from somewhere, and those stories have been passed down. But if you go back hundreds and even thousands of years, you're going to find similarities between yesterday and today. It's kind of amazing. I'm sure you've all seen that in your life. When we combine the two most precious and beautiful gifts created by our earth, we can only enhance it better by human imagination. And that is what is in here. That's what's on your hand. That's what's in your wrist. That's what's in your mind. When I met my husband 23 years ago, I noticed he made so many subjects that have been out of reach more relevant, not just to me, but to anyone he met. He's really remarkable. I'd watch him have these conversations, bringing relevance into common conversation. Through the years, he's taught our clients, our friends, and family all matters big and small, and he has a gift of making what is complicated, seemingly unrelated, actually understandable and surprisingly connected. I have seen more people have that aha moment, and when their curiosities have finally been satisfied, it's really a special thing to witness. And we're hoping today you'll have some of that happen. And we are so excited to hopefully satisfy some of your curiosities. We are really happy to be here, and without further ado, my amazing husband, and I hope you love him, because he is going to give it his all to know as much as possible for you guys today. Thank you so much for having us.
I like old money. I like studying facts and features and micro detail that most people really look past on their day-to-day level. And I gave you a little loop, a little magnifier. I want you actually, in fact, pull that little magnifier out. Since we don't have food on the table, we can do what I always want to do. You put your elbows on the table and as an anchor. And then you put the eyepiece 1 inch from your eye. I typically rest it on my cheek, and then I bring the subject matter closer in hand until it's in focus. Everyone pick up your fork and turn it upside down. And I want you to look at the handle, right here. Right here at the base of the handle. That, my friends, is a scallop shell, or also known as a fan shell.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
You will find this motif on the back of a $1 bill. You will find this piece on the El Camino Trail in Spain as the hospitality or hospitals would bring in people who were traveling on this sacred trail on their spiritual pilgrimage around 1000 AD, also known as the Knights Templar. So to this day, an act of hospitality can be found in a scallop shell. The meaning for wheat is abundance of life. It's been traced over 8,500 years. So when we give wedding jewelry that has engraved wheat on it, it means have an abundant life, have a fruitful life, have a beautiful life. The first fleur-de-lis known can be traced back, some say, to Charlemagne. But before that, if you ask a mason, they say it's much, much older. But if you ask a guy named Archimedes, he had a philosophy that was really magnificent, that talked of the lily having these three beautiful equal-ended parts. One to represent the very close, another side to expand the cosmos to the very far, and then the world that we live within. Harmoniously, they work together. Some people also use this as the shamrock, the three-leaf clover. Happy St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick actually was quite passionate about the philosophy of the clover. He felt that the combination of the 3 points, being the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, connected to one center stem. But then as that center stem grows into the ground, we don't know where the stem, we don't know where the root system goes. So that root system would be the never-ending knot. This knot theory is the mystery of life. And that is what St. Patrick was trying to explain, is to say there's great mysteries of life. See, this is where it gets fun. I have I have this beautiful Bible here that has one of the most incredible pictures to me. And I'm going to pass it around because I want everyone to see it. Yesterday when we were at the garden, we were witnessing these gorgeous orchids, absolutely beautiful. And it just so happens that yesterday we got a text from actually got an email from a friend saying that, did you know, oh, I love it, she's going to watch her face when I say this, did you know that orchid in Greek means testicles?
Yeah.
And
This crowd would know.
I know, of course this crowd would know. From Greek times, they gave the orchid for fertility and vibrancy of life. But in this Bible, I want you to see, what color is that orchid?
Yellow.
It's white.
White.
This is a white orchid. The white orchid is to describe when Mother Mary announced that she was carrying Jesus. The Immaculate Conception. The pure white was the tone of the orchid. This coin that I'm going to pass around is one of the oldest known representations of a rose on a coin, or I should say on a rose in painting art, that you'll ever find. The coin is a pure silver piece from the Greek-Roman era, right when things were in the mix of turning from one to the other. On one side we have Helios. This is where we get the term halo. And then on the back side we have a rose. But the first roses were my favorite, from the Isle of Roses. That's what it means, is the Isle of Roses. And in fact, that's where Pythagoras would pluck these roses and explain the mysteries of life, because you can actually find out much math inside of a rose. In fact, he even said that that's how he came up with the Pythagorean theorem, is from a rose. If you look at the orderly and beautiful mathematical computation of how they are put together, they naturally start with 5 petals and explode from there. This is one of my most favorite pictures of roses. And if you study its perfection, you understand it's so easy to fall in love with them. What color is that rose?
It's got one that's red. It's red.
Is it?
Red or pink.
Red or pink, so you would say that it's kind of like a blush, like a rich blush, but not quite red.
Yes.
So how old is he in that picture, do you think?
I'd say he's
551.
Yeah,
I know that wasn't keeping time.
he's probably about 6 months.
Yes, baby.
Oh, I thought the baby.
Okay, so the baby being,
All right, 320.
you know, not quite in the passion portion of the lifetime span of Christ. The intensity of the red gets closer to the end of his physical life on earth. And that is a very consistent thing, which is fascinating nonetheless. Basically, I'm smart enough, but do not take my act of kindness as an act of weakness. I like her. She's a tough chick. And what's fascinating about this coin is they have this adorable little owl on there. And the owl was for, quite simply, that was her tool to gain knowledge. Why? Because she always asked the question, who? When you ask a question, who, you will always find your next answer to be close. This is the head of Roma. You know how like the Romans borrowed from the Greeks, and the Greeks borrowed from the Egyptians? Well, this is kind of how the story got all told, is on their coinage. Coinage is an incredible instrument to discover signs and secrets and symbols. So on the head of Roma, they have a wheat wreath, which was for, again, abundance, richness of life. May the strength of Rome continue. And then the head of Roma was the personification of Rome, a strong female warrior. This is the papal seal. That has the crown of the Pope on top with the 2 keys. In the Ark of the Covenant, there were a few things stored in there. Number one, we all know about the tablets. But there was the breastplate of Aaron, and he had 12 very specific stones inside of there. But here's where it gets very interesting on it. Inside of the Torah, there is a section about King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba when they got together and their story of their love life. In fact, it's actually one of the most incredible romantic stories you'll ever hear. In fact, it's called the Song of Songs or the Love of Lovers. Oftentimes there is a interpretation between flowers and gemstones of the breastplate. That's when someone, because some people say there's also birth flowers, and that's where that came from, is from this ancient text. Look what's on top of that. What do you think that is? It's a fleur-de-lis.
Wow. That was without using that.
That is the nourishment throughout life and turning into something magnificent we can be on the inside. I've always loved the rose flower. It's got these gorgeous petals and amazing colors. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about something that I love inside of the garden that's not a flower, but it's a butterfly. Butterflies throughout history. In fact, has anyone, I know you two have been, but has anyone been to the Biltmore Gardens in North Carolina? Okay. Has anyone been in the home inside of the Biltmore in the Gardens of the United States? Okay. If you ever get a chance to go to the Biltmore, you have to see this magnificent staircase that spirals up. If you ever get a chance to look at this incredible spire that goes like this, the ironwork that goes up there has this motif inside of there, all the way through. It has this magnificent butterfly that's been put together with a stylized fleur-de-lis. The palm throughout history, if we look at the variety of palm and its strength and what we've derived from it, it has been an invaluable instrument for passing on beautiful messages. I have a revival Egyptian piece here that actually has a beautiful palm tree motif, but it actually splinters into a stylized fleur-de-lis, which is one of my most, if we draw a big circle, how it comes into one of the first things we talked about was the fleur-de-lis being of either a lily or an iris, depending on what part of the argument you want to talk about. But moreover, lastly, it all traces back to Egypt. And I hope that you enjoy some of these signs and symbols. And I definitely want to talk to you about some of the magnificent jewelry you all brought in. you might be surprised at some of the detail relief inside of your own items that have been discussed already, but we're going to go into a little bit more individually on each one of these pieces. So I hope you've enjoyed a sprinkle into symbology. So thank you.
Okay.